one would just be not sending enough emails. Like if you have really good, high quality emails, you can definitely send a lot more emails than most people think. Not having enough emails in flows, not segmenting correctly, so blasting a 50,000 person list rather than finding out who's engaged and who's not.
Yeah.
There's a time and place where you would send to the whole list, absolutely, but in most instances, you want to send to engaged subscribers. Oh man, the list goes on. I could go for ages and ages and ages.
G'day, I'm Lockie, and welcome to D2C Slingshot, a podcast where we interview brand founders and industry experts to help you out on your own journey, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. So I'm joined here with Oscar from Stripe Copy today. I just want to give yourself a quick introduction, what you've been doing over the last few months, and how you sort of got into email marketing.
100%, bro. Yeah, like Lockie said, my name's Oscar. I'm from Stripe Copy. I'm the founder here. I started the agency probably about a year and a half ago now. So we do email and SMS for e-com brands. Initially, as most of us do, start out as a bit of a freelancer, take on a couple of clients yourself. You kind of reach a peak at around 10, 15K MRR. And then, especially, towards the start of this year, I took on a ton of clients and now really sort of in the weeds of, building out a team and building out a real agency that's scalable. So yeah, email and SMS for e-com brands. That's sort of the main service we run right now. And yeah, I've been loving every second of it, building this thing. I feel like it's a really great offer and I'm keen to scale it, continually.
Yeah, nice. And did you have any previous experience before that, or did you sort of learn from the YouTube university, or how did you get into it?
Yeah, man. I mean, I played around with a bunch of different stuff before I got into the agency game. I mean, I was, always trying things here and there throughout high school. Tried the eBay drop shipping, tried the Shopify drop shipping for a couple of years. I did it all, right? Went to uni, dropped out after my first semester just because it wasn't for me, and I knew I wanted to do something in the online space. Tried around with drop shipping. I've made a bit of money doing that for about a year. Nothing crazy. Nothing really enough to support myself. But it was a good experience. I gained a bunch of skills, learned the basics of direct response marketing, copywriting, which I still use today. So I'm forever grateful for that. As much as it would have been nice to reach the success faster and the revenue goals faster, I think it's almost necessary that you go through those struggles and those pains and trying different things. Just because obviously throughout that process, although you're not necessarily seeing the output you want, you're still gaining the skill sets that are required to scale other businesses. So did the drop shipping for about a year after I dropped out of uni. That didn't really work. So I made the transition early last year in 2022 into the agency game. Just honestly picked email and SMS marketing out of a hat. I was looking at a list of 100 different services I could offer. Picked email and SMS. At the time it was pretty hot. So, ran that up, got my first couple of clients within, about a month. Then ever since then, just been going full force, just kind of figuring everything out as I go. So it's been a journey, but it's been good.
Yeah, nice. You sort of timed the market well by accident as well, because it was sort of coming off COVID, but also the iOS 14 updates, which had a pretty big impact on paid advertising and trying to acquire new customers. Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed that, but there was a big shift towards retention marketing, especially email and SMS. Did you 100%. Feel like you caught the wind in your sails because of that? Or
I got lucky. I definitely got lucky in that sense where it's like I definitely picked the right service at the right time, because you're 100% right. Late 2021, early 2022 was when, especially on Twitter, email and SMS marketing agencies were becoming very, very popular because they were, the market was eating it up at that point, because it's exactly what you said. Sort of we're seeing a changing tides in the e-com market where, acquisition was getting harder with, all of the software changes and all that kind of stuff. And, brands were wanting email and SMS marketing, and the guys that got in early. I'm not even one of the early guys. There was guys before me that were running it back up in 2021, but I feel like I was early enough where when I got into the game, I was able to get my first couple of clients, get those first rungs under my belt pretty early, and then from there, obviously you get the case studies, you get the momentum, and you can just push it. So I definitely got lucky in that sense that honestly I went in blindly. Like I didn't really have any reason for picking email and SMS. I kind of just did it because I was like, I can write emails and make pretty designs. That's easy. So I did that. But yeah, it did time the market very, very well because it was very easy to get clients back then. And, once you get your first couple of case studies, it kind of just goes up and up from there.
Yeah, and I think it was about perfect timing with Klaviyo really starting to take off as well. It really only seems like they've been around for a couple of years. Not sure exactly how long they've been around for, but even now people are still using softwares like MailChimp and I don't know, all the other shit ones that brands probably shouldn't be using now with Klaviyo on the market. But yeah, what's your experience with some of those other ones like MailChimp, or have you just strictly been a Klaviyo only?
Yeah, so I've used like pretty much all of them, to be honest. So, I've had experience bringing clients from other service providers like MailChimp, Active Campaign over into Klaviyo. Some clients want to stay in MailChimp, but I'm open to doing that. I would obviously, prefer everyone. There's intricate clients that I've worked with different use cases where it's
Yeah.
like they're not necessarily e-commerce. And in that sense, it makes sense to host them somewhere else like MailChimp or Active Campaign just because, we don't need the full tech stack that Klaviyo provides. But if we're talking about e-commerce brands specifically, it is by far the best service provider that you can use. Better than MailChimp, better than all of these other ones. And they're continually updating the platform as well. It's like monthly now, they're bringing out something new. They're changing, the UI of everything, really sort of making everything clean. And Shopify just invested a ton of money into them as well, which means that, if Shopify, which is the biggest, e-commerce platform out there for actually hosting sites and, your data, I mean, if they're investing all that money into Klaviyo, I mean, it kind of just makes sense to, bet on that as well as an agency, right? And to get all your clients over there. And plus, with personal experience, I've had a ton of experience using Klaviyo. So actually last year while I was putting the agency, I was working for another agency as well, where my whole job was, to use Klaviyo and, work on some other client accounts and stuff like that. So yeah, Klaviyo is by far the top dog in the email game for sure.
Yeah, it's a bit like Triple Whale as well. Obviously, they've got a data solution, and Shopify just invested in them, and it feels like there's something new coming out every week. And then, like all the other competitors that are probably trying to start up and stuff like that are just getting absolutely crushed because they just keep coming out with features. They've got all this money behind them, and they just keep improving week on week.
Yeah, 100%, bro.
Yeah, so what are some of the main differences you see between Klaviyo and Mailchimp? Is it just like design features, or is it more features, or
It's
what is
honestly
it?
everything. I mean, everything's just done, and like I said, we're talking for e-commerce specifically here for e-commerce businesses. Everything is just done to a lot higher standard within Klaviyo. Like everything's very much better thought out in terms of the things we can do with automations as well as campaigns as well as segmenting as well as the UI. I find the Mailchimp UI a little bit clunky. It's a little bit hard to sort of click around and find different things. They got weird naming conventions for everything. But in terms of the actual functionality and the use cases, Klaviyo provides a much sort of more in-depth strategy for you. Like, for a great example here is, segmenting for e-commerce businesses. So, if you run a brand and you've got 50 different SKUs, right? You have all these different sort of colorways and names, not even SKUs, collections, all these different things. When you're creating your automations, you can, use Klaviyo to, filter people via what collections they've added to their cart and these kind of things. So you can build these big, long, massive, detailed flows that, just Klaviyo just doesn't, MailChimp just won't let you do.
Yeah.
It's just in general a lot more robust software and allows you to do a lot more. I think MailChimp's good if, you're initially getting started out and you sort of want to get the basics down. But, once you're operating at pretty high level, it does make sense for any e-com brand to move over onto the Klaviyo platform for sure.
Yeah, cool. You're speaking pretty highly of them. You sound like a Klaviyo salesperson.
I know, right? They should pay me. You should cut me a check or something.
yeah, for sure. So, obviously you talked about automations a bit there. Do they have like full templates set up in there, or what's the game?
Yeah, they've got some basic templates. I don't really use them, to be honest. With clients that we service, we have sort of our own 8 core custom email flows that we build from scratch entirely. The templates that they've got in Klaviyo are very, very basic. It's like, trigger and then email flow, where we like to go trigger different conditional splits based on what people were looking at, like we mentioned, and then take, different customers down different journeys to make a really, really personalized experience. That's what it's all about. All it's really about is just using the features to make sure that every single email we're sending out is extremely personal. So, for example, and, the first example that comes to top of mind, right, is the abandoned cart or checkout flow, email flow. Yeah. So what we're doing, instead of sending the same abandoned checkout email to every single person that comes through the flow, what we're doing is we're sending different email flows depending on actions that they took on the site, or different emails, right? So, for example, if they say you sell shoes and t-shirts, basic example, if they purchased shoes, what most brands will, if they added shoes to their cart, what most brands will do is they'll send them, just a stock standard abandoned checkout flow. Hey, you left these at your checkout, whatever. What we like to do is we like to get more sort of in depth with that, where it's like, it'll be, hey, you left these shoes at checkout, but because we're using the splits, we know specifically that the only people receiving these emails are going to be people that looked at shoes. So what we'll do then is we'll extend the email and talk about all of the great benefits of the shoes specifically. And we'll do the same for the t-shirts, hoodies, whatever it is, right? So that's really how you can get personal. But yeah, I like to use sort of more personal, take a more personalized approach rather than just using the base, Klaviyo templates.
Yeah, and everyone you can spot it from a mile away. Everyone hates when they just see an email there. It's just generic as fuck, and you're like, yeah, no, just click off straight away. And I'm personally not somebody who shops via my email. I don't use it a whole lot, but would you say it's a growing industry or?
What's this, email in general or?
Yeah, just for e-commerce brands. Like I see it like from my perspective, like I haven't done much with email or anything like that, but like it takes time to grow your email list and it sort of like might take some time to get off the ground, but I
mean, I feel like people, I get what you're saying. People have been saying email's been dead for years, right? Like, oh, email's dead, like no one's checking their emails, and it's just all a load of bullshit, right? Email is just like, it's an infinite, that's you gotta look at it as like an infinite asset, right? Where it's like, it's something that you own as a brand that none of your competitors have, that you can utilize forever to drive revenue for effectively free, right? It's a thing where it's like, if you've got an email list of 150,000 subscribers and you know that every time you send out a campaign, you're getting like a 2% placed order rate, that is something that you can consistently rely on to drive revenue, which I think is honestly in the current state of e-commerce right now is the most important thing. Having those traffic sources that you can consistently drive revenue from. Obviously, with ad fluctuations go up and down, depending on the time of year, that kind of thing. With your email list, right? If you send out this amount of emails this month, we're going to generate XYZ amount of revenue. And that's a really good thing to have, because you can always turn up that dial and send more emails or turn it back a little bit. And if the emails are value-based, you're going to, drive, a ton more revenue, sending 15 to 20 campaigns rather than sending, 5 campaigns. So in terms of growing, I think it's always going to be a marketing channel that, needs to be utilized not only for e-commerce brands, but for everybody. I'm delving into sort of a bit of a personal brand space as well. So I've got a couple of clients doing that side of email as well. And I think email is going to be around for a very, very long time. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, for sure. And you just touched on like the ad fluctuations and stuff like that. I'm not sure if you heard about it, but over the weekend, Facebook had a pretty massive fuck up and something went wrong in the algorithm and costs just shot through the roof, overspent budgets, probably hundreds of millions of dollars lost on accounts with no returns for the e-commerce brands. And that's something you really... you can control to a certain extent, but definitely not the algorithm. And if it fucks up like that,
it's pretty crazy. And it's funny you say that because I was speaking to someone this morning, and you know this person very well, based out of Australia. I'll keep him anonymous for now, just because he is anonymous online, but he runs some crazy numbers, and he's spending anywhere from 50 to 100 grand a day on ads.
Yeah.
And he was telling me the exact same thing. He was like, his ad account was fine, but it was like, they've just apparently they laid off a bunch of employees, and things started going south with the ad accounts. Apparently they're running through people's budget in 3 hours, this kind of thing. It's crazy. It's crazy environment.
Yeah, luckily I wasn't impacted too much. I think I had one ad set that probably overspent a bit more than it should have, but in the grand scheme of the whole account, it was not even 10% of the budget. So I wasn't hit too badly, but some other accounts, hearing some crazy stories right now, and a bit of a conspiracy maybe behind it. Obviously they're letting go of a lot of people, so maybe trying to keep a couple with some extra revenue or something like that. But definitely some weird times going on.
Yeah, man.
Now, you spoke about your email list and if you've already got one, which is great if you do have one, but how are you going about actually growing an email list, maybe from scratch, or maybe they've got 5,000 people on it? How do you get people onto that email list?
Yeah, so one thing you always want to steer clear of is buying email lists. I've seen this a lot, and I've worked with clients that have bought email lists to try and drive revenue from a certain niche of people. That it just, in my experience, that never works well. Maybe some people make it work. Maybe some brands can do it effectively and get good conversion on ice cold traffic. But I've just never seen it work. I've worked with clients whose deliverability has been shot through the roof just because they've been sending these emails to people that haven't opted in. No one opens it, no one clicks it. Therefore, they just mess up their sending domain. It's nearly impossible to reverse. But the best way to grow an email list is always going to be organically. So on-site sign-up forms, embedded sign-up forms, collecting emails at checkout when a customer places an order. These are all organic ways to collect emails, and the most effective ways to collect emails as well, because realistically, you only want to have people on your email list that are either buyers or have high intent to buy. It's the same reason I say that unsubscribes on an email list aren't a bad thing, because realistically, you want your email list to be an asset, like I said before, you can drive revenue for. And the best way to ensure that is to ensure that people are high intent to buy or have already previously purchased. In terms of really tactical stuff, homepage pop-ups, collection page pop-ups, all these kind of things work really well. Always on exit intent. I think it's just a better user experience. But also, if you're really looking to grow the email list fast, maybe you're a new brand and you don't have a big email list and you really sort of want to make a big push, a cart page pop-up is going to quite literally double the amount of people coming through over onto your email list. So when people add something to cart, have a pop-up that says, hey, sign up to your list and we get 10% off your cart. It's effectively the same as the homepage pop-up. You're just targeting people with a lot higher intent to buy. Now, yes, you will definitely sacrifice short-term margin, 100%. But the long-term benefit is obviously building that infinite asset that you can then leverage to generate a ton of revenue down the line. So card page pop-ups are really, really good. Homepage pop-ups, I think, should be standard for every single brand. They should all have homepage and collection page pop-ups, these kind of thing. Cart page are optimal depending on how serious you are about growing your list. Then obviously you'll also collect emails from people that come through and purchase from you as well. So organic is the way, and those are kind of the main strategies that I would recommend.
Yeah, because I run Facebook ads predominantly, and then we typically don't like to use email signups or anything like that through our ads, because obviously we're trying to push conversions on sort of that first touch point. Hopefully it doesn't always happen, and then get them into the funnel. But with emails, we just sort of seem to have a really low quality. Maybe we're not doing it or putting as much effort into them, sort of low budgets, not really targeting the copy or whatever, but we do seem to get lower quality from those paid, like pushing email list and that sort of thing. Do you tend to find that as well? Do you do much on that side of things?
It's not really something that we do. We mainly focus on converting visitors that are coming through to the site. But in saying that as well, it is something we're probably going to be testing out on one of the personal brands I run. A guy you know as well on Twitter. We're going to run paid ads to his newsletter and see how that goes. And with obviously the goal of growing that really, really fast. So we want to hit 10,000 subs on that newsletter in a couple of months. So it's a big thing to tackle, but I think, we can definitely do it. And I'll get back to you on how the paid ads goes, because it's nothing I've done before. So I don't really feel qualified to speak.
Yeah, that's all good, man. So you spoke a bit about offering a discount on the email signups. Is there any sort of other strategies you use other than discounts?
100%. And I say this a lot. The best way to find out what's going to work best is to go through and test a bunch of different offers. So that's something we'll do with clients. If they might be running a 10% off that's working really, really well, we'll come in and we'll test, a free X or free shipping or free product with your purchase, whatever it might be. All these kind of different offers. And you can really get creative with it. You can create Shopify coupons or Klaviyo coupons. Free shipping tends to work well. And what I will say about
just speaking about shipping, I brought a new bed the other day. Shipping was $150, and I was like, oh man,
exactly.
I was like almost just exited just because of that.
Yeah, it's rough, eh? And with that as well, you got to understand sort of based on sort of your average order value, what's going to sound more enticing, right? So if you're doing, in terms of $1 off versus percentage off, if you sell high ticket, $1 off is always going to sound a lot better than a percentage off, right? But if you sell low ticket, the percentage off is going to sound a lot better than the $1 off, right? So for example, if you sell a $50 product and, you say, hey, you can either say, hey, get 10% off your order, or hey, get $5 off your order. In my opinion, the 10% is going to sound a lot more enticing. Whereas if you sell a $1,000 product, it's going to be, hey, you get $100 off your, hey, get 10% off your order or $100, right? And if someone's hearing, $100 off my order, that's a lot more enticing than 10%, just because 10% is kind of like, you don't really sort of calculate that in your head until after, like, whereas $100 is like, okay, 10% is $100. Like that's some serious cash I'm saving here, right? Yeah. So you kind of got to, think about it that way. You think about your brand, think about the order value, and then build, the best offer. And you might find that a dollar or percentage off isn't even the best. The free product or the free shipping is going to be better. But it's just about testing to find out what's going to work best. All these questions are all solved with testing. Everything. I say we never ask questions about anything. We always just test it. If we have an inkling something might work, we'll just run a test on it and see how it goes.
One of my clients hit me up on Slack the other day. They sent like 3 UGCs and were like, oh, do you think this is good to run? And I was like, yeah, let's just test it. And she's like, is this okay to test? And I was like, I'm going to say yes. Like, just test anything and everything. It's like, we're wasting time just asking the question.
Just try it out. That's exactly it. And it's the only way because the thing is, if you don't test it, these questions are going to be in your head for like if we change this, would that have happened? Like we might have done better on this. It's like you just got to run the test to sort of solidify it, and then keep running those tests as well. That testing never stops, even when you found something that's winning. There's probably sign up forms. I think you do find a winning offer for sure, but in other aspects, for example, subject lines, content is a big one. All these different things. These are things we can continually test to try and push it further and further.
Yeah, for sure. And just speaking on success of an email, like how do you measure that?
A lot of it comes down to obviously your core metrics, so your open rate, click through rate, and your placed order value, or dollar cost, per recipient. On a industry average, if you look it up on Google, they're going to say it's like 20-25% open rate, which in my opinion is very poor. If you have good deliverability and you have a list of customers that are high intent or have purchased before, you should be pushing anywhere from 40 to 50% open rates on, 180-day engaged list. So these are people that have opened or clicked emails in the last 180 days. If you're sending emails to that segment and your deliverability is on point, you should be pushing, a 40-50% open rate, the minimum 2% click rate, and then driving consistent revenue as well.
Yeah, cool. So you don't look at things like ROAS? Is that like a metric in email land, or?
Well, think about it so ROAS is return on ad spend, right? So ROAS only applies in instance where we're spending money to get it back, whereas an email, you don't pay to send out an email. It's technically you do because you pay for the software, but that's the only thing you're paying for. You're not actually paying to buy space in these people's inboxes like you are on Facebook ads. So ROAS is irrelevant in that sense because other than paying for the software like Klaviyo to send the emails, and they will charge you on the amount of emails you send, but you get hundreds of thousands of email sends a month depending on your plan. That's really the only thing you're paying for. But other than that, I mean, you can effectively send to these people for free. So ROAS in that sense doesn't really apply. It's more so of a case of like, okay, cool. How can we consistently drive revenue over time? Because burning an email list is a very real thing, and we can talk more about that if you want.
Dive into that. I've heard about people getting like IP bans and stuff like that. It's not just their email that gets banned. If you want to dive a bit into that and how you can sort of protect yourself, that'd be good.
Yeah, there's two different things. There's deliverability and then burning an email list. So with the list, it's more specifically about the customers on the list rather than the actual. So that's got a message rather than the actual deliverability itself. So when I say burning an email list, what I mean is basically customers receiving the same, or email subscribers receiving the same message over and over, where it gets to a point where they become non-receptive to the marketing emails you're sending. So the most common case where this happens is when a brand's sending too many discount campaigns. If the only time you send an email, you're sending discount campaigns every single time, hey, here's 20% off, hey, here's 30% off, hey, here's 40% off. What you're doing is you're training your list to only buy whenever they're receiving a discount, right? So if we've sent them for the entire month 6 discount campaigns where we've just been giving them discounts, right? And the next month we're like, oh, we actually want to try some content and see how that goes this month. Then you send 3 content emails at the start of the month. Because the list is so used to seeing those discount emails, right? They're gonna hold off until they see another discount email because they know, oh, last month they sent 6, they've got to send some this month, right? It's really sort of understanding that kind of thing, as well as making sure that all of the emails are value based as well. Like if you're sending just crap emails with crap copy and shitty design, people aren't gonna have a good experience opening and see your emails. So you're basically training people like, oh, okay, just this email from this company, I've seen it before, mark spam, see ya, right? So it's really important that you mix up the content. I say, 5 content focused emails for every discount campaign. And if the content emails are good, you will still drive revenue from those campaigns. That's the thing. Yeah. Content emails doesn't mean we're not trying to drive any sales. The content emails will drive sales if the content's actually good. So for example, testimonial campaigns, they work really, really well. UGC repurposed campaigns work really, really well. And, if the content's good here, you'll drive us like a ton of revenue. But it just means when the sales email that's focused around, driving the most sales with a discount comes around, you're just going to lap up all the sales because it's like, they've received all these content emails, they're loving it, content's really good, sales email comes around, it's like bang, and that's when a lot of people are going to come through and buy it. So content, five content emails for 1 sales email is usually good.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb. Now, how do you take a brand that's been sending like hundreds of discount emails like over, say, the last 2 years and like their audience is just like burnt out? Like, how do you overcome those issues, or do you sort of stay away from those brands that have done that?
It's tough. Like I haven't had too many instances where it's been a huge problem. There's definitely been a couple of clients that I've worked with that have had that issue where they've just, it's not even so much the fact that they're sending a ton of discount campaigns, it's just the emails they were sending were just crap. Like the copy was shit, the design was bad. And in that instance, it's really sort of just about, improving the strategy as a whole and re-engaging the entire list slowly over a course of period of time. And, what will happen with big lists like that haven't been, maybe contacted in a while or have just been sending crap content. Initially, when we start sending campaigns, you're probably going to get a lot of people unsubscribe, but that's okay because it means that, the people that do stay, we know we're going to be able to drive consistent revenue from those people. So, nothing really changes in that sense. Like we're still going to send, great emails that look good, and that's going to be the main focus. It's just more of a case where it's going to be probably a slower process of getting to that point where we can drive consistent revenue, just because obviously a lot of people are going to fall off and unsubscribe, and that's fine. Then we have to build the list back up again, kind of thing. So it's the same process, just takes a little bit longer.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense. Now, with obviously protecting that email list and your IP addresses and that sort of thing, what are some best practices? Like, are you sending an email to every person that lands on the site, or like, how do you go about it?
So the question was around deliverability, like sort of how to make
just
sure that
protecting that, and just make sure you're not pissing people off, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the content emails are good, you can send 10 to 15 campaign emails a month. All the automations we send are long and detailed as well. As long as the content's good, that's fine. We email the list, our clients list often. But in terms of deliverability, I mean, it's really just important that you're getting a couple of key things right. So you got to think about deliverability as almost like a point system. It's not literal, but it's a good way to think about it, where it's like, if you send an email that gets absolutely zero engagement, it's going to flag with inbox providers like Gmail that this is a spam email and nobody wants to receive this email. Let's start pushing them into the promotions tab. And if you're landing into the promotions tab and, less and less people are going to start opening your emails, eventually you'll find yourself landing up in the spam folder, right? So deliverability is a mix of a few things. It's, how people are engaging with the emails, as well as content, as well as do you have the basics set up in terms of IP and your DNS records set correctly. So as long as all three of those things are good, the content's good, you've got some HTML in your emails, your list is engaged and, people are opening the emails. So, it's telling these inbox providers that the content's actually valuable and your, basics are covered in terms of your DNS settings, then you're pretty much good in terms of deliverability, right? That's the way to go about it on the front end. Reversing bad deliverability is a whole nother beast.
Yeah, we probably don't have time to jump into that today, and a bit of a frustrating subject. I bet you it's pretty much like talking to Facebook support. It's just useless, and it's very hard to fix anything that goes wrong.
To be honest, with Klaviyo, I mean, there's a pretty clear cut route to reversing bad deliverability. It's just looking at sort of that every client's unique situation, what they've been doing wrong, why they're landing in spam. And then, putting in plans to fix that. I actually have something on Twitter dropping about deliverability next week, but it's exclusive to e-commerce businesses only because I don't want the source getting out to everyone that wants it. So only for e-com brands.
Yeah, cool. So, no, that sounds pretty good if Klaviyo has a pretty good support channel.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, yeah, Klaviyo support's great. They're really, really good. I know Facebook gives you sort of nightmares.
I don't even bother.
With their support.
It's shit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, okay. So obviously we're talking about deliverability, and then AI has also taken the world over by storm. Is there any sort of things that are flagging within Gmail if you've created an AI generated email or anything like that?
Not so far. Not that I've seen. In fact, it's not really something I've looked into. But on the topic of AI, I mean, we're using it a ton. I mean, all my copywriting guys are trained on how to leverage AI to write faster copy, not necessarily. To write faster copy while maintaining the high standard. So it's really important that you learn how to use AI. I think if you've never used AI before and you try to use it to write all of your copy, it's going to be quite literally shit. Just because it's AI copy. Like people can read AI copy and go, okay, yeah, this got to generate that from AI. Like,
I'm always finding myself in ChatGPT when I'm creating copy. I was like, can you just not sound like a robot?
Yeah, exactly. But in saying that as well, it's good for a couple of things. So it's good for research. Like it's pretty much just like a fast Google. Like if you want to know the specific pain points of, someone suffering with a specific acute problem, tell me the pain or what are the day-to-day struggles of someone that suffers with X, bang, right? It'll give you a ton of, and then you can go deeper. It's like, how might this affect someone's day-to-day life? And it'll give you sort of the really root level pain points. That's a good use case for it. And prompting it as well properly is key. So getting really specific with what you want it to do. So for example, tell it about, so a really good use case right now is if you're trying to nail like the brand voice of a company, what I've been telling my guys to do, it's like, hey, if you're struggling to, especially, for things like, girly brands and, things that are really sort of out of the realm of some of my guys that write my copy, it's like, just go through onto the site, copy like an about section, a blog section, paste it into ChatGPT and say, all right, this is the brand voice we want to emulate. Now keeping this exact same style, rewrite this copy that I've written to match that. And it will basically rewrite your email in the style of voice that's featured on the site. That's where the power is in AI.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And I pretty much have just like a Notion doc of like one per client. And it's pretty much just telling ChatGPT who this business is, what are the main USPs, that sort of thing. And then every time I go to ChatGPT, I just copy paste that straight in, and then saves me having to retype it. And then ChatGPT knows exactly who that brand is. And then we can go from there. So that's a productivity hack, I guess, that we use quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure, man. ChatGPT's, it's good. It's good if you know how to use it. I still think it's very early, but if you know how to leverage it right, you know how to give it the right prompts, it's 100%. Yeah, it's valuable.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, it's like it's not perfect, and it does sound like a robot. But yeah, coming up with ideas and stuff like that, just pretty much sit on it all day.
Yeah, 100%. Oh yeah, man, it's so easy to get caught up in. Hey.
Yeah. And then it starts planning your life. You're like, oh, what should I eat for dinner? Meal prep me.
Exactly.
Stuff
but
like
it's
that.
easy to get caught up in it as well, because sometimes like you find yourself spending more time trying to prompt ChatGPT to write the right things than you would have just sitting there writing it yourself, and you would have got it, dialed down perfectly. I use it more as an efficiency tool rather than trying to fill a void of skill. That's the thing. It's like, I don't think that a bad copywriter can use ChatGPT to write good copy. I think you have to leverage it as an efficiency tool rather than a tool to, mask inefficiency or, mask your personal, like where you lack in your ability to write. Like I think where the highest leverage thing you can do with ChatGPT is take a good copywriter and teach them how to leverage ChatGPT for higher efficiency. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I guess once ChatGPT come out, a lot of people are just been copy-pasting emails into Klaviyo or MailChimp or whatever they're using, and not really sort of setting up a whole heap of like personalized sequences and stuff like that. Now, that's probably a really common mistake at the moment. What other common mistakes are you seeing throughout the industry?
In terms of with AI or just in general?
Oh, just in general, email marketing, D2C marketing, whatever.
It's a good question. It's probably a lot. I mean, there's a couple of key things. I actually wrote a thread on this not long ago. One would just be not sending enough emails. Like if you have really good, high quality emails, you can definitely send a lot more emails than most people think. Not having enough emails in flows, not segmenting correctly. So blasting a 50,000 person list rather than finding out who's engaged and who's not.
Yeah.
There's a time and place where you would send to the whole list, absolutely. But in most instances, you want to send to engaged subscribers. Oh man, the list goes on. I could go for ages and ages and ages.
Or have you got a horror story there? Maybe you've opened up an account and you've gone, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, it happens all the time, man. I mean, from other agencies and just brands that don't know what they're doing. Like, it's not necessarily that they've, done. It's not necessarily that. It's more so just a case where if someone stuffed up their email marketing, they just don't know how to do it properly. Like it's quite a niche skill. It's quite a unique skill, as Facebook ads is, as, Google ads is, as anything is, right? And it's more so a case of someone, that might be a marketing manager or something that doesn't really know email that effectively, has gone in and, tried to figure it out themselves and just completely, stuffed it all up. And then, it's pretty easy to reverse in most cases. But other than that, I mean, it's usually just a case of someone with not enough knowledge trying to click around and figure it out for themselves.
Yeah, I know if I was to go in and create an email campaign, it would just be like pretty much just templated and copied straight from ChatGPT.
Yeah, the same would go for me if I try to run a Facebook ad, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it'll turn out dog shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. Yeah, that's my next question. So how do you work with many other agencies that are running Facebook ads and email marketing at the same time, and how do they sort of connect to each other?
Other agencies? or
Oh,
other brands?
like other brands that are maybe running ads themselves, whether it's Facebook or Google, or you're working with other agencies
Yep.
in combination with email marketing. Like how does it all tie in together?
Yeah, so your paid social, so your Facebook, your TikTok, whatever it is, Pinterest, Google, all this stuff, it's an acquisition strategy where email is a retention strategy. So the best thing that we can do is take, all of those people that we're paying for eyeballs from, bringing them like that are coming to the site. So we're paying for those eyeballs to the site, paying for that site traffic. And where email ties into that is the goal of email, or at least the goal of the lead capture for email, is to convert as many of those people that visit the site into email list subscribers, right? Because the worst thing you can do as an e-commerce brand is be paying for eyeballs and not capturing the data, which is what everybody is doing that isn't collecting emails, right? If your brand isn't collecting emails, you're basically paying for eyeballs to the site with zero intent to capture that data. Because once you've captured it via email, that's an email that you can send to for effectively forever until they unsubscribe, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it all ties in. If you're a brand, you pay for eyeballs to the site. What you want to be doing is capturing as much of that data as possible through your email channel and through your on-site sign-up forms, right? So that means that we can consistently remarket to these people, and you're getting more bang for your buck from your Facebook ads and all those dollars that you're spending on Facebook, because it means that we're going to be able to market to these people that are coming through time and time again, and we're going to be able to get purchases from them time and time again.
Yeah, cool. Now, obviously, I'm one of those people driving traffic to the website, but I don't really have any sort of stats or anything like that on email marketing. But I know it would vary industry to industry as well, but what sort of average open rates are you, not open rates, average opt-in rates are you hoping for on those like homepage opt-ins and stuff like that?
So of the people that actually view the sign-up form, so, with things like exit intent sign-up forms, delayed sign-up forms, not everybody's going to be seeing them, which is kind of how we want it, to be honest, because we don't want to ruin the user experience. Yeah. But of the people that actually see the sign-up form, a good range to shoot for is anywhere from, honestly, 5 to 15%. I mean, I've got clients doing, 11% sign-up forms just because we've really dialed in the offer. But if you're consistently pulling around like 7%, you're doing well. I mean, there's definitely room for optimization. But of the people that view it, if you're converting, 7 to 15% of those people, you're doing, swimmingly great.
Yeah,
compared to
cool.
industry average, that's for sure.
Yeah, and now obviously that's just email. What happens when you tack on SMS onto there as well? Do you see those drop off a lot, or do you see sort of similar results there?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really affect the email collection, because what we do is we always do a strategy. Well, for us anyway, we do a strategy. I'll reel it back in a bit. So, rule of thumb with sign-up forms, the more sort of input fields you have on a single page, the more input fields you have on a single page means that there's going to be a drop off in the amount of people actually coming through and signing up. So what we do, so that doesn't happen, and we're still collecting the same amount of email subscribers, is we break it up. So we'll have email sub on the first page. Hey, come through and sign up. Name and first name, maximum 2 on the first page, submit. And on the second page, when we'll ask for the SMS, and a really great way to convert as many people over onto the SMS list and give us their phone numbers is by offering them a little bit more for coming over and joining SMS. So we'll give them maybe 10% off, 15% off is the simplest example if they come through and sign up to SMS. So that means, right, if, either way, our email opt-in rate is going to stay the exact same, because everything's on that front page. They're going to subscribe to email, great. It's not until that second page they get hit with the SMS sign up. And then in that instance, if they don't sign up, that's fine, because we still have that email, right?
Yeah. And then
that's a good way to tackle it.
And then would you find a phone number to be more valuable than an email?
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. Phone numbers, the open rate on SMS is something ridiculous. It's like 90%. Like some of my clients, we get like a 30% click rate on SMS. Like it's definitely more valuable because it's more personal. Like, no one's checking their emails 24 hours a day, but if someone gets a text, they're looking at that straight away. Right.
Yeah. I'm it's like when you get a letter in the mailbox and you're like, oh fuck, what have I done wrong? It's probably a fine, speeding fine or a red light or whatever. It's sort of the same when I get a text message. I'm like, nobody texts me, what have I done wrong? So I'm exactly. Sitting there like, what's going on? And it's just like, oh, Domino's Pizza has like 10% off tonight.
Exactly. And it's almost like that it's almost like a response that is wired into people's brains, like text, bang, phone, like where's my phone kind of thing. Like everybody's checking their phone when they get a text, even if it's just to read it, right?
Yeah.
That's why you see such high open rates on these texts. So yeah, text, SMS numbers is definitely more valuable, but at the same time, you have to be very careful with SMS because there's a lot of compliance laws around it. If you don't comply, you can face a ton of fines. So yeah, you got to be
Is it more strict than email?
Yes, 100%. So with SMS, you need specific permission for opt-in. So unlike with email where we can just say, hey, enter your details here, with SMS, they have to tick a box that says, yes, I consent to receiving SMS messages. And there's very specific messaging that has to be stated on sign-up forms, and they have to actually actively click the button in order for them to be, legally consented to receive your SMS messages. So that's, a super important thing. I think it was some big brand like Victoria's Secret or something like that was fined millions and millions of dollars for, not complying with SMS laws. So it can definitely go.
Somebody would have got in trouble.
Yeah, it can go south very, very quickly if you're not, following the right protocols and rules around it.
Yep, cool. Do you have any sort of like resources that you visit to keep up to date on all the latest changes on policies or stuff like that, or is it just Google?
Google, yeah. It's like Klaviyo compliance. Like Klaviyo has a ton of resources. Their compliance is like, you can see what the laws are there. Like what do I have to do to be compliant? Klaviyo will give you a ton of resources. Yeah, it's mainly just Google, and it doesn't change too much to be honest, in terms of the laws and stuff. But yeah, it is good to be up to date with it all though, for sure.
Yeah, unlike Facebook sort of changing their policies every 2 minutes.
Yeah. I can imagine, bro.
That's all good. So obviously there's a lot going on with AI and privacy concerns and stuff like that. Where do you see email marketing and SMS going over, say, the next 3 to 5 years?
I mean, I think it's still going to be a growing channel for sure. I think more and more brands are going to adopt it. I think AI is going to play a bigger role, but, I think that's going to be standard across not only e-commerce, but, industries across the world. I don't think e-commerce is the only one that's going to be affected by AI. I think it's going to play a more and more prominent role. I don't think people should be scared of it, but I think people should learn how to utilize it, because it's a case where it's like, and I heard this good quote the other day, it's like AI won't replace copywriters, but it will replace the copywriters that don't know how to utilize it. They'll be replaced by the people that do. That's the thing. Because all of a sudden clients will want it'll go from, people being able to churn out, a couple emails a week to, these copywriters that are utilizing AI to still produce the high quality of emails that they were before, just at a much faster rate, eating up all the market share and taking home all the clients just because, they're able to churn out copy at such a high level. So I think that AI in general is going to be growing, whether you like it or not, over the next couple of years. And I think the people that leverage it are going to be in the best spot to capitalize and make the most money, 100%.
Yeah, I think that scale bit's important because how I use ChatGPT, I might come up with a piece of ad copy and then I'll just put it in ChatGPT and be like, give me 3 other variations of this, maybe some different tones of voices or whatever, and I'll spit it out. I'm like, well, I wouldn't have thought of that because I don't think like that. But the AI is just like, oh yeah, I can do all that in 10 seconds. And then you might have a piece of better copy out of that. So yeah, I love it.
Exactly. And even if it's just for ideating, like, hey, give me some ideas for a tweet or give me some ideas for this email, make this email read better kind of thing. What it doesn't have is the human element. I think, will at least for the next couple of years, humans will always have, a personal touch to, copy and writing that can't be replicated by AI. Like you said, AI can be very, very robotic. It can sound like it's been written like a robot almost. Because when you think about it, it's like, it's almost the grammatical errors and the sentence structure errors that make the copy read properly. Because it's like, AI will give you a piece of copy that is quite literally perfect in every single sense. And it's because of that, they select the right words, the right, sentence structures, the right commas here and there. And it's because of that it feels unnatural. It's almost interesting because everyone's been so inclined to reading copy that isn't that perfect in terms of sentence structure, that, is more conversational. And so when AI spits it out, it's obviously perfect. Everything's sentence structure is beautiful. So it doesn't really compute properly in people's brains. It's like, this doesn't feel right. Like,
I feel like that's where that robotic,
I feel like that's where that robotic sense comes from, where it's like, if it just feels a little bit weird because we're not used to reading copy that's like laid out with the sentence structures, of what it is so perfectly. Like it just flows.
I definitely notice it in my emails because I'm subject to all the online marketing gurus and stuff like that trying to sell me their courses. But like, you can tell different good copywriters apart 100%. Because it's just conversational and there's mistakes and they say, like, they use their slang and it's all broken down into like 1-line or 2-line sentences, whereas an AI might spit out a whole paragraph. And because of TikTok ruining attention spans and everything like that, it's just like you look at a paragraph and you're like, I'm not fucking reading that.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a case for long form copy, but in direct to consumer emails, you've got to use them. You've got to use it sparingly. You've got to definitely use it here and there. But in saying that, direct response still works very, very well. People will read long form emails as well as landing pages if it's the right messaging and it's targeting the right type of person. 100%.
Yeah, cool. Now, do you have any questions to fire back on me before we finish off?
No, I mean, what's your take on the whole industry as a whole right now, the e-com industry? What do you see it going? Like with obviously ads, not only ads, just maybe for agency. I feel like we haven't really touched much on agency life and that kind of stuff because we've been talking a lot about e-com. So I don't know, man. Talk to us about like challenges you're facing right now at the agency. How you're planning on scaling and just basically the journey you're on right now.
Yeah, so when I first started 4 years ago, it was a lot easier to sign clients. Agencies were sort of a new thing, you could say, especially online marketing. Like most websites you'd go to back then didn't even have the Facebook pixel installed, for example. So you'd just be able to email or ring somebody up and be like, hey, bro, I can collect all this data for you, then we can retarget people. So that used to be a lot easier to sign clients for sure. Whereas now a lot of brands have been burnt. And pretty much what I'm finding at the moment is brands just want honest communication back and forth and just sort of know that you are doing the work to push their brand forward. That's what I'm finding a lot at the moment. So my client communication's through the roof. Like even if they don't reply to me, I've got one client at the moment hasn't replied to me for like a month, but I'm just sending a message in there, just updating him every couple of days. I know he reads them. So just keeping up on top of that sort of stuff and obviously trying to produce the best results you possibly can. But yeah, I see the industry growing. Obviously, more and more people are becoming online and spending more and more time in their own homes, or even if they do go to work, then they can't be bothered doing anything after work. So they're just sitting at home on their phones anyway, looking to shop or consume Netflix or whatever. So more and more attention is going into the palms. So yeah, it's just going to keep growing.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I definitely see agencies, e-com as a whole, e-com agencies, e-commerce brands, this kind of thing, just growing and, exponentially. People like to say this and that is saturated. I truly believe that nothing is ever too saturated for anybody to succeed as long as you have the right skills. Like, if you took, one of the best e-com guys in the world that has, a portfolio of 15 different brands and nets like $100 million a year, and you say, go run up an email marketing agency, you could probably take it to $500K a month in like, a year or two, just because he's got the skill sets, right? Like this idea that this service is saturated, this industry is saturated, it's all just bullshit. It's just people that don't know how to navigate their way through it, that kind of try something for 3 months, doesn't work, and then they just sort of throw in the towel and go, it's saturated.
And like even like there's so many brands out there that are still being burnt at the moment. They're just sort of stuck with that agency and they're really not sure of where to go or whatever. So if you do time like an outreach, maybe hit them up in the DMs or whatever at the right time, then they're more than happy to have a conversation because they're already frustrated of their results, especially post-COVID when a lot of brands did start. Obviously, there was a massive boom in online marketing and then all the problems that we're now seeing come into effect, like shipping rates and stuff like that, logistics. It was probably a bit worse during COVID, but we're still having those effects. And brands are sort of struggling with their profit margins at the moment and stuff like that. So then you top that, put on top an agency that's underperforming as well. Brands are starting to really feel the pinch. Does that sort of make sense with you guys as well?
100%. 100%.
Are you hearing that in your sales calls saying, oh, we don't want to have to keep paying for new customers, like we want to retain them as well?
Yeah, 100%. Retention's key. With the agency problem as well, there's these big, conglomerate agencies that are just absolutely terrible. Their service is terrible. They don't know how to deliver. And in saying that as well, it's good for us because, if you can genuinely provide a really good service and, you've got a great team that communicates effectively and there's an ROI on what you're offering, word of mouth is going to spread pretty quickly. But in terms of retaining customers, I think it's becoming more and more important. Ads are getting more expensive. I think it's still an essential part of the business. Obviously, you need to be bringing those new eyeballs, but at the same time, you need to be capturing that traffic coming to the site as well. And email's the perfect way to do that.
Yeah. As for increasing costs, like today's the cheapest that you got to get an ad. ever. So
Yep.
like you can't go backwards to 2016
Exactly.
Facebook ads. Like the perfect time sort of is now. I know I might be a bit biased in saying that as a Facebook advertiser, but it's only getting more and more expensive by the day.
100%. It's going to keep on that trajectory as well. I mean, it goes for everything. You know what I mean? Best time to get into it was 5 years ago. Second best time is right now, because it's only going to keep getting, gradually, harder. But it goes for everything. If you're trying to start a business, the best time to do it would have been 5 years ago, right? Because when you have 5 years behind you of stacking those skill sets, and you probably would have built something of value. I think the second best time is now. You know what I mean? There's no point in waiting any longer. And if you think like, oh, too late, whatever, then that'll be your reality. But if you're like, okay, spent the last 5 years doing probably not what I should have been doing, but that doesn't, I can't look back, and I'm going to give it my all moving ahead to build and grow something that I'm proud of.
Yeah, and like I had no marketing experience when I come into this, just through YouTube University and different courses and stuff like that. And now I have a skill set where I can pretty much go to any business and improve it, just because I know how to just communicate with cold audience as well, just direct response marketing, just getting people eyeballs on certain things through certain platforms and stuff like that. So yeah, I have a skill set where I pretty much won't be begging for money or working in a factory ever again, that's for sure.
Exactly right. Exactly right. It's all about the skill set, 100%.
Well, there you have it. Unfortunately, this is the end of the episode, but if you're looking for more, be sure to find more episodes on the platform you're viewing on, or head over to Instagram to find tons of valuable clips.